Warning: Armstrong Industries may contain adult and disturbing material. We strongly advise that it may not be suitable for young listeners. Thank you. Lee woke up inside a green tile bathroom. His arm was chained up to the wall. He shouted, "What the fuck? Oh God, where the hell am I?" Callie and Oscar are in the same room as Lee, so they asked what was going on. Lee couldn't remember, neither does Callie and Oscar. So Oscar said, "Just got pins and needles in my arm, but I'll be alright." Also, a young male and female woke up. They introduced themselves as Danny and Lindy. They're both chained up on their legs to the wall, but Callie and Oscar weren't. So Lee said, "Could you find something to get us out of these chains, as we didn't want to cut our arms and legs off." Callie and Oscar looked around. Callie has found a small rock, so she slaps the chain with it. Meanwhile, at Armstrong Industries, Nadia and Norville were sitting at the desks. They're looking on computer to find where Lee, Callie and Oscar are. So Callie and Oscar managed to get Lee, Danny and Lindy out of the chains. Lee said, "We'd better find out where we are and how to get out of here." And Lindy said, "I'd rather get out of here." Lee replied, "Which is why we're gonna find out where we are." Lee opened the door and turned around to Danny and Lindy and asked them what was the last thing they remembered. Danny said, "You'd think we're talking bollocks if we tell you." So Lee replied, "I won't, I promise, just tell me." So Lindy said, "Me and Danny were having a date in Metro Centre. When we got home, we found this thing laughing at us. We thought our mates put it there as a prank, but there was someone else there. We were attacked, and the next thing we remember, we woke up here." Lee asked, "What thing was it?" Danny said, "You won't believe us." So Lee replied, "Just tell me." So Danny explained. It was Billy, the puppet, from a Saw movie. Lee, Callie and Oscar looked at each other and horrified, and seemed pretty scared. There was a deep voice played on the speaker and said, "You figured out the secret of the game. Well done." So Lee shouted, "We know what this is. We want no part of this." Billy the puppet said, "I'm afraid you people have no choice except live or die. I want to play a game, so make your choice." So he then let out a laughter, and Lindy said, "That's the laugh we heard just before we were abducted." And Lee said, "Me, Callie and Oscar heard that too. We were having a pint, then we walked down to the bridge in Blythe. We heard that laugh in the distance. The next thing I remembered, I woke up here." Callie and Oscar confirmed the same thing. Lee was thinking that they might be in the Saw universe. Oscar was hoping that Nadia and Orville will find a gateway to get them out. Ricky is at home, sitting on the sofa in the living room, with PC Gary Tucker sitting on the armchair. He was reporting that Callie has been missing since last night and didn't come home. So Lee, Callie, Oscar, Lindy and Danny have found a white tunnel, and at the end there is a door. So Danny said, "I'll have a look so we know how to get through safely." So Danny walked off, but Lee shouted, "No, wait!" Suddenly, the door sealed Danny inside the tunnel, so he kept banging on the metal door with a very strong glass to get himself out, but it was no good. Everyone was trying to get Danny out. Suddenly, the walls and tunnel were closing in, so Lee, as fast as he can, tries to force open the door, but it wouldn't open. So then the walls closed in and crushed Danny to death, and Lindy is screaming. As the walls opened, there was a pool of blood in the tunnel, and Oscar saying, "Holy shit." Then the door opened. Lee stepped in, and Callie said, "Lee, no, I don't want you getting crushed as well." But the walls did not close in. Lee suspected to get one of your team crushed, and then the door will open. Lee was right. The door opened. Lindy was crying her eyes out, so Lee walked to her and said, "I'm sorry about Danny. There's nought we can do. We need to get out. I don't think he would have wanted you to wait to get yourself killed." So Lindy rubbed her tears away and got through the doorway. Meanwhile, outside of Asda and Blythe, Nadia and Norville met up with PC Gary Tucker. Nadia suggested look on all CCTV footages from last night to find out how Lee, Callie and Oscar disappeared. Lee, Callie, Oscar and Lindy burst into a room, and there was 2 young females and 1 young male, and they're all wearing laser collars around their necks. Oscar said, "Oh God, how do we get them off?" One of the females said, "Press the right button. If you press the wrong button, the laser will cut us up." "But we don't have long before it'll activate," Lee said. "Shit! We have to quickly figure out the right ones. Have you not seen any Saw films?" "None of the victims wearing collar have," Oscar said. "God damn it!" Lee asked their names. They introduced themselves as Dylan, Tanya, and Myra. Suddenly, the collar activates, and the laser makes into a cage shape surrounding each victim's head, and the victims are scared. So Oscar and Lee figured out the buttons to press. So Dylan said, "I think that's the button to press." So he pressed the button. It was the wrong one. The laser turns the full 90 degrees. His head sliced into 8 pieces. Lee and Oscar managed to press the right buttons for Tanya and Myra. The collar came off them, and Lee said, "Oh, Jesus, look, I'm sorry. If only Dylan would wait until we press the right button. Look, come on." Inside a pub in Blythe, PC Gary Tucker, Nadia and Norville looked at all the footages they can find. Gary has got the idea where Lee, Callie and Oscar might be, so he goes on the radio to alert the armed police. Lee found a lever, so he pulls it. The door opens, but then the knife sticks out from the wall, but luckily Lee quickly dodged just in time, although his head was cut open. So Lee shouted, "Fuck!" So Oscar had a look at Lee's cut, with blood dripping down to his face. Callie said, "Maybe you should sit down. We'll find a way out." Lee said, "No, I'll be fine. It's just a nasty cut on my head. Might need stitches." So everyone got through the doorway. PC Gary Tucker and the armed police burst inside an old big house. Gary said, "We should be very careful and watch out for traps." One of the armed police walked, while pointing a gun, at few places. He stepped on a tripwire. This carelessness proved to be fatal, as the wire triggered another trap, which caused him to be killed by 4 shotguns attached to the ceiling beam, with a lot of blood splatter on his body, while Gary and the other police quickly took cover. So after the guns were out of bullets, Gary said, "Shit! Keep an eye on every inch of this place. Priority is to get people out and arrest the suspect." So Lee, Callie, Oscar, Lindy, Tanya and Myra got through the doorway. Suddenly, something shot at Oscar's arm. Oscar was screaming in pain as he tightly grabbed hold of his wound, with blood leaking out. Lee was finding out where it came from, and he noticed a gun attached to the wall. So he grabs the gun and rips it off the floor and throws it on the ground. So Lee ripped part of his t-shirt and wrapped it around Oscar's arm like a bandage, as tight as possible. Oscar said, "I'll be fine," and Callie asked, "Are you okay?" Oscar said, "It hurts like shit." Lee, Callie, Oscar, Lindy, Tanya and Myra entered the dark and messy kitchen. Lee said, "Quiet." There was a sound of bike wheels coming closer and closer. In the darkness, there was a silhouette of someone small riding on a tricycle. It revealed to be Billy the puppet. Lee shouted, "You bastard!" So he slapped the ventriloquist doll on the tricycle to the ground. So the gang ran to the door. They opened it and found John Kramer, aka the Jigsaw Killer, and said, "Congratulations, you have passed all my traps." Then Lindy said, "Not all of us. You killed my boyfriend." And Tanya said, "And my brother. I'm gonna fucking kill you." Lee said, "Don't." Myra asked, "Are you mad?" Lee said, "Look, let me deal with this. How did we get to your world?" Then John Kramer laughed. Then Lee and everyone was confused on why he's laughing. Then John Kramer said, "It's not you who got through this blue portal. It was me. I went through and found this place called Blythe. I'm the one that brought all of you here for my game." Lee asked, "Where is the gateway portal?" John replied, "Through that door, and a lever is down there," pointing at the trap door next to the door. So John says, "If you want to bring me back home, you will have to risk your life by pushing the lever, and then I'll go back to my world and forget about all this. Make your choice." Lee is struggling what to do and said, "There's been enough death, but we can't change the history." "I'll do it. I'll push the lever." So Callie said, "No, Lee, you've got a partner and 2 kids. They'll need you. We all need you." So Tanya opened the trapdoor. She kneeled to the edge. She reached to the lever as far as she can. After when she pushed it, the blades appeared from each side. They were spinning like a saw and sliced Tanya up. There was a pool of blood in trapdoor. Myra was horrified and crying. The door opened, and the blue gateway is inside a cupboard. So John says, "Congratulations, you have won the Jigsaw game. I'll be stepping back into my home and forget it all. Your prize is finding your way out." So John steps through the gateway. Then Billy the puppet rode his tricycle into the portal. After that, the gateway portal dematerialized. Suddenly, the armed police broke in, and followed by Nadia Norville. So Gary goes on the radio to ask for medical attention and dispose the bodies. Later on, as everyone is out of the big old house, Oscar is taken away in the ambulance. Lindy and Myra are happy that they're free, but grieved for who they lost. Lee has got a bandage around his head. Callie got home and cuddled tightly into Ricky. At night, as Oscar lay down in the sick bay, the door opened. Lee, Nadia, Callie and Norval came to visit.